Alright guys, here's a little build log for my S2000 here. Doing some suspension upgrades to it tonight, and starting off I'm using these new Teen, or Tane, however you want to pronounce it. It's their Mono Sport damper. It's a monotube design shock. I have Teen or Tane Flex right now currently on my 3rd Gen RX-7, both of my Miatas, and it's a kind of a dated twin tube design. The valving on it is okay. It was a decent entry level shock that it's suitable for let's say the Miatas, because let's face it, at the end of the day the Miata is kind of a roadster. It's a more dedicated sports car. It's not really going to get that comfortable, so having more compliant low-speed valving wasn't as big of an issue. On my FD, I'm not a big fan of them. I think that car is kind of worthy of something a little bit nicer, so going down the road I do want to actually take that off of the FD and go to like a nice mono tube, and I'm looking at Olin's DFVs right now. But I had a hard time deciding what I want to run for the S2000, because it's kind of an in-between the Miata and the FD. It's a little bit nicer of a roadster, but it's still, you know, at the end of the day, it's still a roadster, and it's still a car that's really not that comfortable, and doesn't, I don't think it's really worthy of a $2,400 damper. So I kind of made the decision. I definitely want to go something a little bit better than a twin tube design, because I do want I want better low speed valving. I want to be able to, at the end of the day, just kind of drive the car like an asshole and not have to fight it. I want to be able to hoon it a little bit if I want to, but I also want to be able to kind of drive it more focused if I can, depending on what my mood is. The Miatas, I was able to set them up decent enough with the regular Flex model, the twin tubes, to kind of drive them how I want to. They're a great balance in between grip and slip, so I can hoon around if I want to, or I can be precise, and it suits the purpose. So reading how Teen updated the model, they made it a little bit less expensive than the outgoing Mono Flex design. I decided to give them a try for the money. So this is kind of an experiment to give a proof of concept and see if I'm going to stick with this damper. If it doesn't suit to my liking, I'm probably just going to scrap it and maybe go with like a Bilstein PSS9 they offer for the car. I was really close to pulling the trigger on them because they're about the same price, but they come with progressive rated springs, and the spring rates are actually pretty soft. So if I did buy them, I would have to source a set of linear rated springs. I would have to either reuse my OEM top hats, which are old at this point and probably have the bushings a little bit worn, and source a new top hat. The Teen was attractive because it already has the spring rates that I want. They're linear rated. The shocks are supposed to be valved accordingly to the rates, and they include their own top hat, so it's an all-in-one unit, and it was actually slightly less than the Bilsteins, so that's why I pulled the trigger on them. They did lower the price on these versus the outgoing Mono Flex. I could see where they cut some of the costs to reduce, to be able to market them at that level. Old school dampers from them, they used to have a lot more aluminum in the construction. The top hats for one were aluminum. They're now a coated steel. It's just a painted steel. They no longer use the pillow ball bushings for the top hat. They switched to a rubber, which at the end of the day, that may not be that bad. Probably makes for a little bit better road manners and a little bit more compliance over bumps. But as far as weight savings and the damper goes, these are about the same as the OEM ones, maybe even a little bit heavier, just picking them up side by side. So it's going to be interesting. To complement them, I picked up a set of blocks, axle shaft spacers, just to correct the geometry from lowering it a little bit. And I also have their bump steer kit for the steering rack to correct the tie rod ends for the lowered height. So I'm starting off here. I haven't decided on a sway bar yet. I don't even know if I'm going to go to a bigger front sway bar. At the end of the day, I want to try to dial the car in as best I can with these. I wanted something that was adjustable. Bilstein does their off-the-shelf shocks that are actually pretty cheap, are a nice monotube design, and you can have them revalved to whatever spec you want if you send them back to Bilstein. But if they don't get the valving right, or you're wrong in your assumption for how you want them to be valved, then you're kind of back to square one and you're stuck with it. You got to have them revalved. So I did want that adjustability. Unfortunately, any damper to add adjustability on it, it jacks the price way up. But just to be able to dial the car in to get it to drive the way I want it to drive, I felt that was important to have. So I'm starting here, and while I'm at it, I'm refreshing some other components. Again, stainless brake lines, because the car's got 125,000 miles on the chassis. So I'm going to go with the stainless lines, especially because the goal for this car at the end of the day is to be able to just drive it to the track, run an open track day if I don't want to take the spec car out and run a full SCCA race weekend. I want to put a set of 140 to 200 tread wear grippy street tire on it and just be able to drive to the track, hot lap it for the day, and then drive it home. The other thing is, because this is an AP1, it has the geometry issue with the toe changes in the rear under compression. So I didn't get the adjustable toe links yet, which can correct that, or switching to an AP2 rear subframe would correct that also. So that's why I want to do it in increments. I want to kind of gauge and see on a step-by-step basis how it changes, and if all goes well and the car gets to my liking, then I'll probably take everything off, kind of what I did for the Miatas and the Black FD, and go through the whole underside of it, refresh everything, clean any surface rust, undercoat the whole car, powder coat all the arms, do polyurethane bushings, all new suspension hardware, because if I do get the car to my liking, I'm definitely keeping it for the long run. Right now, because of what the S2000 is, and because it's still kind of a raw mechanical drive for the year, I do want to hold on to it, but it's really going to come down to being able to get it to drive how I want it to. The stock suspension on this car and the way it behaves at the limit, you're really fighting the car, and it kind of like, when the rear end slides, it just kind of snaps and breaks away, and it's a little bit unpredictable. Not that I can't control it, but I can't pitch the car where I want through a corner at whatever slip angle I want, and that's like, at the end of the day, that's what I want to be able to do. So yeah, this is where I'm going to start. So this is I guess you could say my first diary log for the build. I didn't do anything on the engine because that happened last year. I'll have an overview of that shortly to come and kind of give you guys where the car is at. But as of right now, everything is stock on the car except for all the motor work I did last year. So stay tuned for more updates. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything else you want me to talk about, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I'll try to address it. Until next time.